Today's video is going to be about something that touches every single one of us, and that's our phones. So I did a little research. That would mean that we are checking our phones almost insane, right?
I can make you put your phone. I can make you put your phone down. I can make you put your phone. I can make you put your phone down.
Hey friends, it's me Tamika, and I'm a board certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I also go by the name The Flagrant Psych MP. I run a private mental health practice in Michigan, 100% virtual, where I manage patients with ADHD and mild to moderate depression and or anxiety. Now, whether you're joining me here again or this is your first time here, welcome. On this channel, I do provide mental health educational videos. I want to do my part to help decrease the stigma surrounding mental illness, and then I also want to help empower you to feel like you can take control of your own mental health. And so from the title, from the intro, you've probably already gathered that today's video is going to be about something that touches every single one of us, and that's our phones. So we spend so much time glued to our phones, and I didn't want to just say that to you without providing you with some context to help you visualize this. And so I did a little research, and it turns out that some studies say that Americans are checking their phones anywhere between 144 to 205 times a day. And so let's just, for conversation's sake, let's go with the higher end of that range. That would mean that we are checking our phones almost every 5 minutes while we're awake. Insane, right? But then here's the real question. What's the cost that we're paying for the amount of time that we're spending on our phones? Poor sleep, anxiety, lost connections with real people. How about a whole cultural shift? So essentially, we're being trained to fear silence, avoid boredom, and then seek constant validations through our screens. And then we're also training our nervous system to depend on external noise. And that is actually rewiring the way that we're experiencing real life. And let me just right now get this out of the way. Let me address the elephant in the room, because I know some of you are probably sitting there right now thinking, but Tamika, I am literally watching you on my phone on YouTube right now. And I get it, right? Social media algorithms, including platforms like this one, they are literally engineered to be addictive, to keep you hooked. And I'm not sitting here acting like I'm exempt from this conversation today, because I'm definitely not. But what I am saying is that when it comes to our phones, when it comes to screens and social media platforms, attention is the currency, and our mental health is just collateral damage. So yeah, we got to have a conversation about why it's not just helpful to reduce screen time, but why it's essential to maintaining our mental health. And so we've essentially gotten to the point, guys, where the absence of a distraction feels like discomfort. But in reality, discomfort actually pushes you out of your comfort zone. And it's where things like self-reflection can happen, healing, learning to figure yourselves out. And so if we can learn to sit through and move through discomfort, a lot of times on the other side of that, you're going to see things like increased resilience, a greater self-awareness, or just a greater sense of self. Okay. Now, you may or may not have heard of this term, but it's called the default mode network. And that's really just like a fancy neuroscience way of describing a group of brain areas that essentially turn on when the brain is at rest. So when we're not doing anything, and you can almost think of this as like an idle car engine, right? Like the car is running, the engine is running, but the car isn't going anywhere. And so anytime we're doing things like maybe, thinking about ourselves, thinking about the past, imagining the future, or just spacing out, that's the DMN at work. During that time, we can also have thoughts like, I wonder if I said something weird earlier, or what am I going to do this weekend? Or I wonder what my friends are doing. And so that self-reflective brain activity can sometimes feel uncomfortable, especially if it's bringing up things like boredom, stress, fear of missing out, or just overall negative thoughts. And so then what do? In response, we grab our phones because our phones offer instant distractions, whether it's through social media, videos, messages, news. When we grab our phones, it gives our brain a new point of focus, and that actually shuts off the DMN and it replaces those wandering thoughts with quick rewards and stimulation. But what we're doing is we're training our brain to think, okay, when I'm bored, I just grab my phone. And the more we rely on our phones to escape that idle mode, to turn the DMN off, it becomes harder and harder to be present and sit with our thoughts. It decreases creativity. It decreases deep thinking. It can even decrease emotional self-awareness over time. And these are all invaluable tools that we need when we're trying to strengthen our mental health. Now, every time our phone buzzes, our brain releases a little bit of dopamine, and that's that feel-good chemical linked to pleasure and reward. And it feels good at the time until it doesn't. And that's because this is the same neurochemical loop seen in things like addiction and gambling. And so the cycle is simple. It's notification, dopamine, reward, repeat. And this constant loop can cause a host of negative effects like shrinking your attention span. Every time you're interrupted by a notification, your focus is broken and your brain starts to expect quick hits of stimulation. And so this is going to make it harder to stay present with anything longer than a 10-second scroll. There's going to be heightened anxiety. That's because the brain is going to stay in a state of hyper alert, always awaiting the next ping, like a digital version of fight or flight. And this kind of constant vigilance can create a baseline of nervous tension even when there's nothing wrong. Emotional regulation becomes suppressed. The rapid reactive nature of dopamine-driven scrolling limits your brain's ability to slow down and process feelings. Instead of sitting with emotions, you scroll past them, which can numb or bottle them up over time. And then there's sleep interruption. The mental stimulation in blue light from screens, especially before bed, delay melatonin release and reduce REM sleep. Now, melatonin is the hormone that helps our bodies prepare for sleep at night. So even if you're technically sleeping, your brain isn't really fully at rest. I've literally lost count of how many patients I see that come to me and tell me they're exhausted and they can't seem to get good rest. And yes, you can see sleep issues in a lot of mental health disorders, but the first thing that I always ask is, are you on your phone at night? And almost always the answer is yes. And so here's the thing. You're not just tired because you're not getting good sleep. You're tired because your brain is never getting the chance to fully shut down. And so when you're always connected, your mind is always wired. You're never really offline, and that's going to make good rest really hard to come by. So let's take a minute here to look at some real data to understand the consequences related to extended screen time. A 2023 meta-analysis found a direct link between increased smartphone use and increased depression and anxiety, especially among young adults. Another study from the APA, American Psychological Association, linked screen time over 4 hours a day with lower life satisfaction and higher loneliness. Teen suicide rates have increased significantly since 2012, and this is just as smartphone adoption exploded. And so not only is this just about being distracted, but our smartphones are shaping our self-worth, our empathy, our sleep, and our relationships. Okay, Tamika, so what do we do about it? We got to reduce our screen time. So what happens when we do take a break? Well, here's what science and real life experience show. Number one, you're going to see improved focus. Your brain can finally breathe. Constant notifications, multitasking, and digital distractions overstimulate your brain, making it harder to concentrate. So stepping away allows your mind to reset and strengthens your ability to focus deeply when you return. Now, the second benefit of reducing screen time is deeper sleep. That's because with no late night scrolling, that means you're going to be able to get real REM sleep. Now, REM stands for rapid eye movement sleep, and it's one of the stages of your sleep cycle. It's the dreaming part of sleep where your brain is active, but your body is resting and your mind is getting a cleanup and a refresh. And then remember, the blue light coming from our screens, it interferes with the melatonin production. Remember, that's that hormone that helps the body shut down and prepare for sleep. And so with blue light delaying sleep onset and reducing sleep quality, when you take those screens away before bedtime, your body is actually going to be able to follow its own natural circadian rhythm. This is going to lead to more restorative sleep. Decreased screen time leads to better communication. That's because when you're not distracted by your phone, you're more likely to engage fully in conversations, and this leads to stronger connections through better listening and increased nonverbal cues like eye contact and being emotionally present. Decreased screen time can also help to improve self-esteem. That's because there's no self-comparison loops from curated social media feeds. You got to remember, on social media, people are showcasing only the highlight reels or moments from their life. And so this can lead to trigger feelings of inadequacy. And so taking a break helps you focus inward, reducing comparison and improving how you feel about yourself. Reduced screen time also reduces anxiety. Less information overload means more calm. Constant news updates, endless content, and the pressure to stay connected, that can really overwhelm your nervous system. So disconnecting reduces that input, and it gives your mind space to relax and help you feel more grounded. And let me just say this, right? Because I am a realist. I do believe in setting realistic expectations. I'm about meeting people where they are. And so I'm not sitting here asking you as soon as this video ends to just reduce your screen time by half. No, absolutely not. I know that's not practical. I know that's never going to work. And I get it. A lot of us use our phones to stay connected with family, businesses, work, school, etc. What I am saying, though, is that we need to get to a point where we've conditioned ourselves to use our phones more as tools versus a crutch. Because when we can reduce screen time, we gain real time, real peace, real life. And so let's go over 7 practical tips to help you reduce your screen time. And tip number 1 is going to be actually tracking your screen time. And you can do this by using built-in tools on your phone to see how much you're actually using. Awareness is the first step to change. A lot of times people underestimate how much time they're actually spending on their screens. And so seeing real numbers can actually be a wake-up call and a motivator to make small, sustainable shifts. Number 2 is turning off notifications. So at least try to limit them to the essentials, right? Text, calls, calendar. Constant pings, typically what they're doing is they're hijacking your attention and they create a low-level sense of urgency. And that stresses your brain. And reducing notifications helps calm your nervous system and improve your ability to stay present. Tip number 3 is grayscaling your screen. So color actually triggers emotional engagement, but black and white is less addictive. So bright colors are designed to stimulate dopamine and keep you scrolling. So if you switch your phone to grayscale and makes apps less visually appealing, and that reduces your psychological grip and it helps you to break compulsive habits. Tip number 4 is phone-free zones. So no phones at the table, no phones during walks or in the bedroom. Designate certain spaces in the house to be like tech-free areas that help you reconnect with the real world around you and your relationships. This creates mental breathing room and reduces overstimulation. Tip number 5 is a digital Sabbath. So let's try 1 full day per week without screens. It's a game changer, guys. Taking regular intentional breaks from technology can dramatically improve mental clarity. It's going to help reduce stress and reset your relationship with your devices. So it's not about deprivation. It's about rest and reset. Now, tip number 6 is replace. Don't just remove. Swap scrolling with something else like reading, walking, journaling, or music. Cutting screen time without a replacement is often going to lead to boredom or relapse. So filling time with nourishing alternatives, that helps to support your emotional well-being and helps form healthier habits. Now, I don't know if you've heard of this or not, but there is a thing called a Dopamenu. I can't remember off the top of my head right now who coined the term, but I'll insert it in the description. I can't remember which way it goes, but I'll insert it. But a Dopamenu is essentially where you sit down and take the time and think about some healthier alternatives to scrolling and write them out. And so when you find yourself scrolling too much or too engaged in your screen or social media, pick up your Dopamenu, go through your list of activities that you've already pre-planned, and switch the scrolling out with something on your Dopamenu. I'll actually include a Dopamenu template in the description box that you can use to help you kind of foster this in the future. So tip number 7 is setting a curfew. So you want to stop screen time at least 1 hour before bed, because screens disrupt your melatonin production and keep your mind overstimulated. So powering down before bed gives your brain time to unwind, and that's going to improve both the quality of your sleep and your overall mood. Okay, story time, transparency moment, right? So I am guilty of, in the past, scrolling Instagram late at night. I would wake up and start my morning the exact same way. I would grab my phone before I would brush my teeth or even acknowledge the person lying next to me. And so not only was that anxiety inducing for me, but it started causing issues in my relationship. And it wasn't until my husband and I, we both made a conscious commitment to just stay away from the platform altogether. That's when I realized that it was more than just anxiety. I was overstimulated. My brain never had quiet. My nervous system was never able to fully rest. Since we've done that, since we've removed ourselves from the platform, I've created boundaries that protect my peace, right? And honestly, I'm happier because of it. Not because I gave up my phone, but because I took my power back. So here's the challenge. Let's try 1 phone-free hour per day this week. Just 1, right? Put it in your calendars. Then let me know in the comments, like, what did you do? What changed? What did you do different? How did it feel? What was hard about it? And then for those of you who kind of like scoff at the idea of just 1 hour, go for a full digital detox day. Pick 1 day out of the week where you completely step away from your phones, from online platforms. Use the time to reconnect with yourself with silence. You'll be surprised what you find there. Now, if you like this video, be sure to check out my first video, which breaks down the science of seasonal affective disorder and some effective ways to manage it. Until next time, take care of yourself.
Take a whole day to recognize sunshine.
When you need someone